All right, everyone, we have made it to Friday. TGIF, everyone. I am meteorologist Adam Claiborne. I'll be your host for today for Weather Out West. Today's September the 5th, and what is Weather Out West? Well, Weather Out West is the hour-long show where we showcase the latest on what's expected weather-wise across the western U.S. You'll find forecasts from our meteorologists in Colorado, Idaho, Washington, Oregon, California, and Arizona. So today, we're going to start in Seattle because we've been dealing with quite a bit of fog across the area, and it actually caused a temporary ground stoppage at the airport there. After that, we're going to check in with Spokane, which also had a fog-related ground stoppage. But the big story of the day will be the wildfire smoke and how that's been impacting us here across the western U.S. So we'll get into that, and we'll start with Seattle as meteorologist has the latest on that forecast.
Happy Friday from Seattle, Washington. I'm King 5 meteorologist Ashley Ruiz with a look at your forecast. We have some big changes up ahead as we head into the weekend and especially into next week. But first, we're still going to have very warm, hazy conditions, moderate air quality for most spots from Seattle all the way down to Olympia and all the way up to the Canadian border, which I'll show you in a minute. But with changes over the weekend, we're going to have showers, cooler temperatures, and we're going to have the risk for a couple of thunderstorms. So with that being said, yes, we'll get some rain to help wash out some of this wildfire smoke, but we also have the potential for some lightning, and we know that's not a good thing ever during wildfire season, especially up in the mountains. And with lightning, gusty winds that could spark new wildfires or cause them to spread erratically and quickly. So that's something we're going to be watching carefully, and next week we have a better chance for more showery weather, so a better chance for a good chunk of the area to get some rain, whereas this weekend it's going to be hit or miss. The big picture right now, we still have that ridge of high pressure. Even though western Washington has really been on the periphery of it, we're still feeling effects from it, but you see this spin, this counterclockwise spin in the open Pacific. That is going to be our main weather maker over the next couple of days as it sends a couple of disturbances over the region. That's why we're going to have scattered showers and more clouds in place. We're also going to have some cooler temperatures as we get the return of onshore winds. Finally, next week, that's when, again, we're going to have the greater chance for some wetting rain. So highs in the 60s and 70s. Showers are likely because that low is going to move over our area instead of just spinning over the Pacific. But until then, we still have that summer heat and haze, and you can really see the wildfire smoke as the visible satellite imagery waking up this morning. You see that thick plume of wildfire smoke. Whereas on this side of the Cascades, we've had some fog to start our morning. We also have some more high clouds, mid-level clouds to our south, and more smoke haze. The good news is over the next couple of days, we're going to have this clear. It's going to be gradual, and then for our friends east of the Cascades, it's also going to clear. It's just going to be slow for that to happen, but it's coming. We have all this dense wildfire smoke aloft. Thankfully, it's aloft on this side for most because that's not going to really harm our air quality all too much. What it's really been doing is bringing us red sunrises and sunsets, but it's also been bringing us that reddish tint to our moon and our sun. It's because of that wildfire smoke aloft. And what happens, we have these smoke particles, and they're much larger than normal air molecules. They scatter light, but on a clear blue day, typically we don't have the smoke particles to cause some of the oranges and reds to be able to pass through more because of the longer wavelengths. So they are scattered less. So it's the opposite when we have smoke in place, giving it that orange and spooky look to the sun and the moon. And with the upcoming full moon as well, that will make it look red once again. It's not a lunar eclipse, not a total lunar eclipse. There is one over the weekend. just not here in the United States. It won't be visible here. So over the next couple of days, as I mentioned, with the air quality, it's going to be moderate, except closer to the foothills, Cascade foothills, closer to the Olympic Peninsula, where we have that Bear Gulch wildfire. And up at Mount Rainier, Paradise, you see it is smoky as can be. It's smoky here, but again, that wildfire smoke is more so aloft. And here's some of the spooky clouds moving over and fog moving over Elliott Bay and Puget Sound. Highs today in the 70s and 80s. There is that slight chance we get a pop-up thunderstorm over the mountains today or tonight. So again, watching out for the lightning risk. Tonight, 57 to 62 with a greater shot for us to get some scattered showers overnight. But tomorrow, the entire area has the potential for a thunderstorm. It's not going to be widespread, but it's going to be something we have to watch out for. This afternoon, evening, there could be a pop-up thunderstorm near Mount Rainier and Mount Rainier National Park, as well as the Cascade foothills. And then overnight, we'll have a better shot for a cluster of showers to move over the area, clearing by the afternoon. But with instability, that sun, daytime heating, that could spark scattered thunderstorms over the Cascades. And once again, having to watch out for that wildfire risk. Once again, Sunday, thankfully, it looks mostly dry for the Hawks game, and that's at home, Lumen Field here in Seattle, and kickoffs at 1:05. Looking ahead to next week, we're finally getting that fall feel with highs in the 60s and 70s.
All right, yeah, that was meteorologist Ashley Ruiz with that forecast in Seattle, and yeah, football is back. NFL season started last night. Seahawks will be playing against the 49ers this weekend in Seattle. All right, next we're going to move on to Spokane. We already talked about how they had a ground stoppage earlier today. We are now going to get into the forecast there, what we're expecting. We have the Spokane County Fair that's going to be taking place. And we'll also talk about more of this hazy sunshine that's expected across the area, and also take a look at some of this wildfire smoke that will continue to hover across the skies over there. Meteorologist Thomas Patrick has the latest.
I'm meteorologist Thomas Patrick in Spokane, Washington, and we find ourselves today at the Spokane County Interstate Fair. They're ringing the bells for one of the games, and we've actually seen it all through the course of the morning here, from the fair animals. We've tasted a bunch of food already. We found ourselves where the fun and games and the rides are for today, which is just the first day of 10 days of fair fun for us here in Spokane. Obviously, that's really cool. The weather can always be a wild card in this first week of September, and I've seen it all over the years, from the extreme heat, colder days, it's rained, it's been, you know, the whole gambit of extremes. This time around, it's about the air quality. And check this out. If you just quite literally look at the sky and the sun here, that is a hazy sunrise for us. And it was this glowing orange disc of a sun earlier this morning, where it was really low in the sky and it had to travel through a thicker layer of wildfire smoke. So that's what we're noticing today. And yes, as the sun climbs a bit higher in the sky, it actually cuts through that layer a bit easier. Top down, it's a little bit more shallow when you look at it from that direction as opposed to lengthwise. But that smoke and haze overhead is affecting our air quality, and that is the main weather headline for today and for this weekend. We are tracking air quality concerns across eastern Washington and the inland Northwest as a whole. Still decently hot outside, just not to those record-breaking levels that we had from last week. But we start with the air quality. Air quality alerts again expanded for a second time this week, now covering some areas in North Idaho, including Coeur d'Alene. But in Spokane, these go until further notice. Smoke forecasting is a difficult thing. We can usually only go about 2 or 3 days at a time to know for sure. And that's just kind of where we stand, where at least the next 2 days will continue to be smoky and we'll continue to get bad air quality. The worst has been in Ferry and Stevens County as of this Friday in terms of unhealthy air quality. Right now in Spokane, it has been listed as unhealthy for sensitive groups, ranging between an AQI of about 120 and 140 on this Friday morning. And guess what? That smoke is not going anywhere. It's stuck in the air mass that is in place, and the air mass is still pretty hot as well. So basically, so long as the temperatures are at 90 degrees, it's going to stay smoky and hazy. We'll see some whole-scale weather changes come next week when we get there, but just realize that any outdoor activities this weekend will be afflicted by the smoky and hazy skies. That does include the Spokane County Interstate Fair. Not the greatest of weather. It's not the worst I've ever seen, that's for sure, but a high temperature of 90 degrees is pretty hot. But remember, the smoky conditions will result in reductions in air quality. Make sure you're staying safe if you are going to be outside for a long period of time. Just listen to your body. If your throat's feeling a little bit too scratchy, might be time to take it indoors. For the weekend ahead, Saturday will be the hotter of the 2 days at 91, and we'll see our first of any rain or thunderstorm chances as early as Sunday evening. Now, those rain or storm chances are really low at first, only about 10%, and probably in the mountains more than anything else, but the chances for rain will pick up next week. When I reference whole-scale weather pattern changes, look at next week. Highs in the 70s, rain chances most daily. When that stationary front gets enough momentum to get us on the cool side of things, that's when we'll see improvements in air quality, cooler weather to work with, and yes, even a chance of rain here or there. But for today and tomorrow, especially if you're going to be at the fair, be smart with temperatures in the 90s.
All right, it looks like it's still going to be quite warm here over those next few days, but there is some relief on the way after the weekend and heading on into next work week. All right, we told you the theme today was going to be more about this wildfire smoke and how that's impacting air quality here across a lot of the western U.S., especially across the Northwest. So when we get back, we're going to get into Boise and Portland's forecast and talk about how things are affecting them there. Welcome back. So we talked about the theme today for the Northwest and really the western U.S. in general being the wildfire smoke. So and now as we get ready to transition into Boise's forecast, we are going to talk about that wildfire smoke again and how that being around, especially in the lower levels of the atmosphere, has impacted some of the air quality there for much of the region. There's going to be some hotter temps, at least initially, before things do cool down as we head later on into the weekend and more so into next work week. Hector Mendoza has the latest.
Hello, my name is Hector Mendoza, forecasting out of Boise, Idaho. And in Boise, a big day for tonight as Boise State hosts Eastern Washington on the Blue. And look at those temperatures for kickoff around 7 o'clock tonight, 91 degrees. It's going to be hot for today. And even by the end of the game, 79 degrees. So finding ways to cool off as people are going to start heading to tailgates through the rest of the day. And then through tonight, people are going to be out there enjoying the game there on the Blue. And even as we look there, as the rest of the day there, 2 o'clock, those temperatures get into the upper 80s. And then we continue in those 90s for today. Now, the one thing that is also going to stick around as we get towards the rest of the afternoon and heading into the rest of this weekend is going to be some of the smoky skies. This is from earlier on this morning here, looking at our Skycam 7 camera. It's really hard to see there, the bogus base in the mountains there off into the distance. And that is what we're expecting to really intensify through the rest of the day as we do have aerial wildfires. This is just another view looking out from Bogus Basin on into the Treasure Valley. On this view, you can't even see the Treasure Valley. Normally you can see some of the cities and some of the landscape there, but not really much of that for there. And even as we look on into the mountain spots here for today in Sun Valley specifically, look at how hazy it looks out there as some of the wildfires are a little bit closer to some places here in the Central Mountains, and that's why it'll look to intensify through the rest of this afternoon. And here looking at our future cast, we don't necessarily seem to get much of that relief until we get closer to the end of the weekend, as we are going to have some winds. Showers are possible and some thunderstorms could start to develop some of those outflow winds in some areas, and that's where we expect to see some of that mixing to mix out some of that wildfire smoke through the day. And as we zoom on in to take a look at what it looks like for Friday for that air quality, yellow and moderate category through portions of the West Central Mountains, down into the foothills, and then all the way through as we look at the Treasure and Magic Valleys, even out into eastern Idaho, seeing some of that continue there. But we see clearer conditions for Sun Valley and Stanley. That could change through today and into tomorrow. Now, again, we are talking about smoky conditions, but heat is also on tap for Friday, as that will continue to bring us some of the warmer temperatures, as we will see here on our satellite and radar picture here. That ridge of high pressure is going to continue to diminish, and it's going to weaken to bring us cooler temperatures into tomorrow. We do have a shortwave system that brings in some showers earlier on today, but it'll start to tap into some of the moisture as it continues its way through Saturday, and that's when we're expecting a little bit more of those chances to come on for this evening here in the Boise area. So as we look towards the afternoon, this is skipping on ahead into Saturday. This is around 2 o'clock where we start to notice some of those showers start to pop up in the Central Mountains, makes their way through into the Magic Valley. It's not till later on into the evening that we start to notice a chance for that to make its way through the Treasure Valley, and that looks likely through the evening and into the overnight hours there for Saturday for the Treasure Valley. And then we'll look on into Sunday, but it doesn't look likely that it hits other spots under some places up into the mountains there. And then we're going to continue to see those chances increase as we get towards the middle of the week. So as we look at the 7-day forecast, temperatures stay into the upper 70s through Monday, down into the mid 70s, and then we see a lot more of those shower chances coming along through Thursday and Friday of next week. Looking at the Twin Falls area in the Magic Valley, we are going to see those showers continue there for Saturday morning, stay into those low 80s, and that continues with that unsettled weather with the low 70s there as we head on into Thursday. And then looking on into Boise, pretty similar with the low 90s there for today. Upper 80s all the way through Monday. We get a break from some of the unsettled weather and some of the shower chances there into the beginning of next week. And then as we take a look here, 77 degrees expected for Tuesday. We see those temperatures drop down well below average, about 10 to 11 degrees Wednesday into Thursday. And it looks like we see a little bit more of that activity come along with showers and thunderstorm chances from Tuesday to Thursday.
All right. So, yeah, we talked about professional football starting up this weekend. Had the main start, or at least the initial start of the college football season last week. And, well, we do have Boise State with the game this week. So, hope everything goes well there. All right, let's go ahead and move down to Portland, because here we are not seeing as much of an impact when it comes to that wildfire smoke and that haze across the sky. Even had a few showers around yesterday. Could see a bit more of those down that way. Meteorologist Chris McGinnis has the latest, as well as on a cool down.
Hello everyone, I'm meteorologist Chris McGinnis. We have been tracking showers and even some thunder showers rolling out of the Cascades and into parts of the Willamette Valley. Over the last 60 minutes, the lightning detection has kind of dropped off, but the showers still holding together to get part of the Rose City here in Portland a little wet up towards Vancouver. And as we go out a little wider, you can see the trend over the last 3 hours. We've had showers and thunder showers in the gorge from the Dalles west towards Hood River. That little area now working its way on up into Skamania County. Another area of showers, actually a fairly frequent area of showers, has been down along the Central Oregon coast and in the Coast Range, Lincoln County. So Lincoln City, Newport, you folks have been getting on and off wet with some lightning detected there frequently over the last 3 hours. And now a second round of some showers popping in Marion County, this in just the last 60 minutes. So it's been a bit of an active morning here across southwest Washington and northwest Oregon. And while these continue lifting on off to the north and west, eventually the wet weather threat, we'll have that this morning. I think that will taper off as we head into this afternoon. So the first part of our day today, the shower threat, then hazy and a little sticky. By Portland standards, we don't typically see dew points in the 60s. So when we do, it's a little muggy, and temperatures will be in the mid 80s. So it's going to feel a little sticky this afternoon with, again, highs getting into the mid 80s here in Portland. We do have a slight cooling trend coming our way the next couple of days. We'll feel that day by day heading into the weekend. I keep a slight shower threat as well, and I'll explain a little bit more about why it's slight. It's very, very minimal, but enough to mention. And as we go into the early part of next week, I think a lot of us have a chance to get wet as the cool down continues. All right, here's the big perspective across the Northwest. This is kind of a chaotic looking satellite picture, and what I mean by that is if you look closely, you'll see some little swirls here, lots of them, lots of little weather disturbances. There's one there that's driving the showers and occasional thunder showers this morning. There's another one down there, another one down there, a bigger one here off the, out in the Gulf of Alaska. And what all of that means is that all of these little pieces are rotating into the Pacific Northwest every 6 to 12 hours, and that has been driving these recurring showers, and in some cases thunder showers. Of course, with that lightning and lightning strikes, that brings the potential for new fire starts. So that is concerning a bit for portions of central and eastern Oregon today, where they're already dealing with prolific wildfire smoke in the air. All right, futurecast into tomorrow morning, we begin to get a little bit more onshore influence. So what that will do is drop our temperatures a bit and stabilize the air a little bit in the Willamette Valley. So while there is at least the chance we get a few drops of rain, the better chance will be along the Cascades and points east during the day on Saturday and maybe even again on Sunday. Valley forecast again, watch out for the early showers today, and then a hazy and warm day, kind of muggy with highs in the mid-80s for Salem. Up towards southwest Washington, again, we mentioned about 86 here in Portland. I think Vancouver gets to about 86 as well with that early morning showers threat. At the beach, showers and a rumble of thunder. We've already had those in Lincoln County, so Newport and Lincoln City, you've had some showers. I think you will trend towards a partly sunny sky this afternoon. And then out in the gorge, East Gorge hot today, with the early morning showers giving way to a partly sunny sky. And we talked about the smoke. This is a look at our smoke modeling, picking up the smoke from the Emigrant Fire, which is burning in eastern Lane County, the Lane County Cascades. Over the next 12 hours or so, that smoke will continue to be fairly thick across portions of the Cascades and Central Oregon. In fact, we're showing up with some unhealthy air out towards the Prineville area. So smoke, and also the possibility of some thunderstorms in your forecast with a high of 91 eastern part of the state. Again, afternoon thunderstorms possible, otherwise hazy and warm with highs in the upper 80s to low 90s. 86 today here in Portland. We dip it down a little bit into the upper 70s on Saturday and Sunday, and rain or showers a sure thing next week.
All right, so a bit more rain down that way around Portland. Well, we made it from Boise down to Portland. We're going to continue to head south across Denver and in Phoenix, where Phoenix, they actually are getting a decent amount of rain around the area too with monsoonal moisture, while areas around Denver, yeah, more of that wildfire smoke. We'll have the latest coming up. All right, welcome back. So we're going to be heading to Denver now, where the winds are going to be ushering in some cooler air. It's definitely been hotter the past few days, but at the same time, we're talking about ushering in some of that wildfire smoke, and that's from some of the fires in the PNW. What's the PNW? The Pacific Northwest, and some of those Canadian fires as well. So we're going to get into that and how that cooler air will start to drop highs back into the 60s and the 70s as we go further east and on into the forecast. But looks like for areas across the western side of the state, we're still talking about temperatures in the 80s. Meteorologist Chris Bianchi has the latest.
Well, high temperatures back on Thursday, very summer-like with high temperatures mostly in the 80s, 90s, eastern plains, as well as in the mountains, though a few spots in some of the higher spots getting only into the 60s and low to mid 70s for us. However, a fairly dramatic change in that forecast looming for us as we look ahead to Friday afternoon, Friday night. That's because we got a cold front that moves through. That'll briefly bring some wind for us, and that will also bring us some much cooler temperatures and also wildfire smoke. We've got several large blazes that are burning in Idaho, Washington State, and on up into British Columbia. The result is that smoke is going to be a hazard, especially the further north and east you go across the state of Colorado. That smoke will be thicker, and this is due to wildfires that are currently burning in the Pacific Northwest and Canada. And the result, again, you'll be seeing that smoke throughout the day on Friday as well as into Saturday. But colder air off to our north and east, we're going to get kind of sideswiped by that. And the result will be that in Denver, we're looking at our first low temperature, our first temperature in Denver at all, into the 40s since June the 9th, almost 3 months since we dropped down into the upper 40s for us in the Mile High City. Of course, this is fairly typical for that to take place this time of year, but as we look ahead to our Friday forecast, the story will be that kind of cooler air mass with highs only in the 60s and 70s for us across the eastern plains. It's about 10 to 15 degrees below average, a little warmer the further west you go, and that's because you're still underneath that ridge of high pressure out across the western slope. But the further east you go, the cooler it will get relative to average for us across Colorado. 7-day forecast. Hey, if you like that fall-like stuff, enjoy it while you've got it on this Friday, because by Saturday, Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, we're right back to summer with those temperatures getting back into the upper 80s for us by the middle of next week. Until then, a brief little taste of fall.
I'm 9 News Weather Impact Team's Katie LaSalle. You may have seen it, smelt it, you feel it. Smoke and haze. A front rolled in yesterday, bringing thick smoke to portions of Colorado that we unfortunately will be dealing with here through at least Saturday afternoon. It's all due to large wildfires burning in the Pacific Northwest, places in Canada like British Columbia, and we saw that front roll in. That is dragging in a lot of that smoke and haze, reducing our air quality for both today and tomorrow. So looking ahead at the forecast, the densest, thickest smoke expected to roll into the metro area through early Saturday, northwestern Colorado impacted by this as well. So the National Weather Service issuing an air quality alert not just for wildfire smoke, but also ground level ozone, unhealthy for sensitive groups. So you combine the smoke and also the pollution that we see. We'll see a little bit of sunshine for this afternoon. It's a secondary pollutant. You see the heat of the day. It is going to be slightly cooler than average, but still with some stagnant conditions here across the metro area, south to Castle Rock, west to the foothills. Just be aware, you'll probably feel it. It may impact your allergies if you do suffer from those as well. Our air quality forecast for today and also on Saturday. Unhealthy for sensitive groups, ranging up to the bad category as we get into early Saturday morning. If you do suffer from any respiratory issues, may want to limit time outdoors. Looks like, though, things will start to improve as we look ahead at our 7-day forecast, some gradually clearing skies. We are expecting to see more sunshine, not quite as hazy to start our Sunday. Broncos game could see a storm or two roll through, kind of switching up some of that stagnant air, and then warmer and drier through most of next week, slightly above seasonal normals.
Yeah, it looks like football's going to be back there in Denver, too, as the Broncos will be playing against, looks like the Titans here for this upcoming Sunday for all of you who are in the Denver Metro. So as we continue on, we're going to head south and down this way around Arizona. Phoenix has been seeing scattered showers and storms and all that coming along with more of that monsoonal moisture. Guess what? All that continues, not only just for Phoenix, but for areas such as Flagstaff. And that monsoonal moisture is going to be very concentrated for areas particularly across the eastern side of the state. Metro has the potential for some severe storms too, so watch out for that, as well as high winds and some of that dirty air that might kind of mix up in within all of that. Meteorologist Ginger Jeffries has your forecast.
I'm meteorologist Ginger Jeffries. We'll look at your weather out west across the great state of Arizona, where we continue to have monsoon moisture widely scatter across the state. Difference for today, we do not have any flood watches in place for the metro or surrounding areas. However, just like yesterday, these are going to pop up as the storms start to develop. There's a slight chance at some morning showers, and then we're going to follow that up with some scattered isolated pockets after about 2 o'clock this afternoon, which means, yeah, more views like this. I mean, even if you miss the rain, you certainly get to enjoy all the rich colors in the atmosphere. So Kurt in Gilbert, so east side of the valley, sending me in this photo, and I just love it because, like I said, the sky at some point yesterday looked like it was almost on fire. Some of the clouds, the storm clouds, were opening up, and then we started to see those sun leaks behind it because yesterday, of course, we had quite a bit of cloud cover. Today, we're going to continue on this theme of very unsettled. Now, all the moisture is coming up from the southeast, so we're seeing the biggest impact on the southeast quadrant and in higher elevations. But once again, we've got an opportunity at some pop-up showers here in the metro. As a result, daytime highs are going to stay a little bit below the normal range. No complaints any day in what is still summer that we don't hit triple-digit strength. It's a win. Now, out to the west, I'm really not seeing as much monsoon energy. It's really focused on the Four Corners area. So from Parker into Havasu, Quartzsite into Yuma, temperatures are going to stay in the mid to upper 90s, but as far as monsoon threat, we've got it on a 4. So that means we still have an opportunity for some pop-up showers. Most of this should be in the afternoon, but 7s and 6s on the board from the rim into southeast Arizona, which means that's going to be our greatest impact. Strongest storms and most widespread variety. So what exactly does a 4 mean? We've got a good chance, so 40 to 50% of the region for the metro has a potential for some severe storms. Winds should stay under 60 miles an hour, but of course, just like yesterday, not a massive haboob, just more dust storms, so blowing wind causing dirty air. We've got that opportunity, and yes, because of that locally heavy outflow, we could see some flooding here and there. Meantime, satellite picture shows the track that I'm talking about. Again, everything coming up from the southwest, kind of clipping the metro, staying to the south south of the city yesterday for the most part. But now, as we take a look at what's going on, this track is going to begin to change, drawing our humid conditions away from us, replacing it with very dry air. So temperatures are going to be responding, but simply because we still have a lot of moisture to the east of us, I think our temperatures are really going to stay at a manageable category. So at or below normal, which is about 104. Now, measurable rainfall, what are we looking for? We still have an opportunity to pick up maybe a quarter of an inch of rain. Higher elevations, obviously going to see a higher probability. As far as the entire season, hey, we made some progress. We are still below where we should be, but one good storm could get us back to where we should be, which is closer to about 2 inches by this point in the monsoon. So scattered thunderstorms in the works for us on this Friday with daytime highs at about 97 degrees. Your day maps out like this. Remember, slight chance at some pocketed showers in the morning. Then we'll just call it partly cloudy. And yes, your temperatures should be hitting about 97 degrees by 4 o'clock. For Flagstaff, you've got healthy monsoon coverage today and tomorrow. Look for plenty of cloud cover and 70% chance of storms. For the valley, we've got mostly clear skies turning partly cloudy, and yeah, 40% chance of some showers today, 30% tomorrow. But then we begin to dry out and look for your daytime highs to once again climb back into the triple digits with highs at about 105 by Tuesday.
All right, and we're expecting that the Cardinals are going to be in New Orleans, so they're not going to be starting there in Phoenix for the NFL season. All right, so when we come back, we are going to head to San Diego, and we're also going to head to Sacramento. Going to head to the state of California. There are some areas dealing with some concerns when it comes to fire risk, but there are also some areas that could see some monsoonal moisture as well as a bit more of that lightning, but maybe a bit of a fall feel to the air as we head on into the upcoming weekend. We'll talk about that after this. All right, welcome back, everyone. We are going to head to Sacramento right now, where there could be more of a fall feel for the valleys, while we're still dealing with some storm activity across some of the higher terrain, mainly across the higher terrain. Meteorologist Monica Woods has the latest.
I'm meteorologist Monica Woods with a look at our changing weather pattern with our regional headlines. That includes the coast dealing with morning fog. We'll have a fall feel in the forecast for the valley. Still hazy for the foothills. For the Sierra, limited storms heading into the weekend. We've been dealing with a lot of storm activity. In fact, for the Plumas National Forest, still dealing with those lightning sparked fires. You can see how those lightning strikes tend to hit some of the taller objects and then unfortunately spread some of those flames. 40+ lightning sparked fires reported by the U.S. Forest Service just in a period of 2 days. Now, we still have the potential for those thunderstorms into our Friday, but it's really going to be quite spotty. By Saturday, this all starts to shift its way east, giving California quite a break, a much needed break as well. Lake Tahoe has been dealing with hazy skies for the past several days, just that kind of gloom in the distance there on the perimeter of the lake with the smoky skies kind of hanging in low. We've got several fires burning, including all the lightning sparked fires, plus the Garnet Fire, which is still burning in Fresno County, putting off a lot of smoke. Tends to settle into the lowest elevations overnight and then kind of lift a bit during the day. But the pattern shift is also going to change how that develops during the afternoon over the weekends. So looking at our high resolution futurecast, we've got the fog along the coast for Friday. Once we get into the afternoon, some of that starts to shift off, and you'll notice it's going to be very spotty showers, nothing widespread like how we started off this week. And then by Saturday, more clouds coming into the forecast, and we've got an even bigger change developing in the deeper forecast as we start to see that high pressure ridge really starting to weaken its grip across the west coast. It's going to stay on the east side of the crest here in the Intermountain West, whereas this low pressure system, it's going to start moving in, and by early next week, we're going to bring in a slight chance for showers for the midweek forecast. Looking at our Friday forecast, though, we've got highs near 80 for the Tahoe Basin, 80s to near 90 down low for the foothills. As we move our way southward, looking like a nice wrap up to the week. For most areas, really not dealing with a whole lot of thunderstorm action. Yosemite up to 83 for that Friday forecast, starting a little bit on the cooler side of things for the central San Joaquin Valley into the 90s, including places like Fresno as well as Merced. Dealing with the air quality issues, though, unfortunately, with that fire burning very close to the Fresno County area, just on the east side of that. For Friday's temperatures along the central coast, we're in the 60s and 70s as we move inland. Again, again, the cooler air mass starting to impact us all. So the San Joaquin Valley even getting out of those triple digits. We're in the 60s and 70s along the coast for the Bay Area. Much cooler conditions as we head towards the northern part of the coast, especially along the northwest coast where we have highs only reaching the 60s, socked in with fog here. Fort Bragg only 63. Even for the northern end of the Sacramento Valley, highs will only be reaching the low to mid 90s. And again, we'll track that slight chance of a thunderstorm, but overall it's going to be very spotty and most of the action will be east of the crest. So for the Central Valley through the capital region, highs are in the 80s to right around the low 90s. Normally, we're 91 this time of year. Our extended forecast includes much less thunderstorm action for the Tahoe Basin over the weekend. We'll continue to monitor the smoky skies. By next week, we're starting to draw in a slight chance of showers and thunderstorms back into the outlook. For the foothills, a cooler weekend outlook. Highs will be in the 70s and 80s. And for the coast, again, a lot of fog to start us off for the morning with partial afternoon clearing. Highs will be in the 60s and 70s. Looking at our extended forecast for the valley, we are dropping out of the 90s and 100s into the 80s for the upcoming weekend, and we get even cooler next week. Again, slight chance of showers coming in by the early and middle part of next week. We'll see drier conditions for the end of the week, but no huge warm up in this forecast. We're generally staying below average with that slight chance of rain. We'll be tracking it heading into next week.
I'm sure that cool down is going to feel nice. All right, let's head farther south in California now, where we are dealing with conditions where monsoonal moisture could creep into areas closer to San Diego. We also have the increase of onshore flow on the way, which could mean more of that marine layer. Meteorologist Vanessa Paz has the details.
Well, happy Friday. We have made it to the end of the work week. Good morning from San Diego, California. I'm CBS 8 meteorologist Vanessa Paz. All right, it was overcast across the coast and inland valleys this morning, but we can expect a lot of those clouds to clear, especially for those areas away from the coast. We are still going to have some of those clouds in the form of thunder clouds, especially in our mountain areas. For example, this was a glimpse of what we've been seeing over the past couple of afternoons, especially when it came to those higher elevations in the mountain areas, all due to that monsoonal moisture still filtering in. It's been pretty relentless, but we can expect those conditions to simmer down, especially when we head into the weekend. So basically, here's a recap of what I just mentioned. We have the chance for mountain, desert rain all the way and thunderstorms all the way through Saturday, and then we'll start to simmer down in terms of relative humidity levels, and we'll also have cooling on tap next week for the entire county. We will have the increase of onshore flow, also known as those winds from the west blowing east, and that will usher in the marine layer. It will become expansive at times all the way towards the inland valleys, and it could have the potential to squeeze out some heavy mist and light drizzle. So here's what's happening aloft. This is at about 500 millibars. That ridge of high pressure continuing to usher in that easterly flow, picking up some moisture from the Gulf of California, and also some remnants from a tropical system by the name of Lorena. So those two combined are ushering in and will continue to bring in some moisture into Southern California. In terms of our forecast radar, as we give you a play-by-play for this afternoon around 4 or 5 o'clock, that's when we have the chance of seeing some pop-up thunderstorms as well as showers. In fact, yesterday, Laguna Mountain Lodge, which is one of the locations where we typically collect data from, and we also look at their cameras, they reported about 1.5 inches of rain over the past few days, and they posted that. So again, we have had some beneficial rain. Unfortunately, it hasn't been very widespread. As we take a look at tomorrow and see what's on tap for our forecast radar, we still get glimpses of thunderstorm activity continuing for our mountain areas, and then on Sunday we're looking at much drier conditions. So here's what it looks like day by day percentage-wise. We're looking at the greatest chances for any showers in our mountains tomorrow, and then those chances plummet come Sunday into next week. We do have major cooling ahead as well, all due to the return of onshore flow due to an area of low pressure off the coast of California. So in comparison to what we're seeing to this afternoon versus next Tuesday, by next Tuesday, temperatures will drop off anywhere between 2 to nearly 10 degrees for some areas. So it's going to be another hot one for your Friday afternoon for the coastal areas. We'll see mostly 70s, mostly scattered 80s for the inland valleys. But by next Tuesday, we will really feel that drop in temperature. Not only will it be cooler, but temperatures will be well below seasonal. All right, for ocean-sized temperatures later on this evening, if let's say you're headed towards if you're visiting, I should say, or you plan to visit, we can expect mild nights overnight. We'll be in the high 60s around the 8-9 o'clock hour for areas like Oceanside, out in Ramona later on this evening, which is one of the inland neighborhoods. We will stay fairly warm all the way through about 6 p.m. And then once we get towards sunset, we'll eventually drop into the 70s. Ramona will likely be one of the coolest spots later on this evening for the entire county. Tomorrow's highs, we are looking at mostly 70s across the coastal areas. Picture perfect weather. I mean, 70s and sunshine will be on tap for the coastal and beach neighborhoods. Meanwhile, another warm day inland. Lots of 70s and, 80s and 90s to go around. Over the next few days, not a lot of change. It won't happen until Tuesday and Wednesday is when we'll start to feel that noticeable cooling, especially for interior parts of the county. I mean, we go from the high 80s to the high 70s by the time we get to the middle of next week. Here's a quick look at the 7-day mountain and deserts.
All right, everyone, we'll stick with us. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back. So we know how smoke impacts humans, but how does it impact plants? Well, researchers at Colorado State University were trying to learn more about the pollution in the air when they made an accidental discovery about the relationship wildfire smoke has with plants. Check it out.
The scientific method starts with an idea and a question.
What were you initially seeking to do? What question were you trying to answer in the beginning of all this?
Originally, we went out to the Rocky Mountain forest to try and understand how plants emit volatile organic compounds. So those are all those chemical compounds that make a pine forest smell like a pine forest.
Delphine Farmer is a professor at Colorado State University and was just starting this research into air pollution in our forests back in 2020.
What were the conditions when this all started?
So you could see a haze and you could smell that campfire smell. And so we knew exactly what was happening, and so did the plants.
Photos show the Woodland Park research site on clear days and smoky days. As fires raged across the state that summer, Delphine's research team stumbled onto something else.
As soon as the smoke hit, my students called me and they were really puzzled about what to do because the plants just weren't responding. They weren't opening up and what we can think of as breathing.
So plants have pores?
Yep.
It's not just teenage us, like plants also have pores.
Yeah, plants have these little pores and they hold gas. They just would not open up those pores, and so they would not photosynthesize. And that tells us two things. One is that the plant is responding to the smoke in a very strong way. And two, that wildfire smoke exposure might actually stop plants from photosynthesizing and growing.
The trees were essentially holding their breath to avoid the smoke.
I think that these accidental discoveries are part of the joy of science, and in particular, environmental science.
An accidental discovery, but perhaps even more important.
Wildfire conditions are common in Colorado, so what do we do with this information?
I think this tells us that we need to think about ways to mitigate wildfire smoke. Those wildfire smoke events, they're not just impacting human health, but they are impacting obviously the plants and ecosystems that are burning, but the areas around them, and they're going to impact agriculture in the region as well.
Interesting. All right, so when we come back, we're going to talk about more wildfire smoke. Stick with us. All right, everyone, welcome back. So we told you the major theme for today was going to be the wildfire smoke here across the western U.S. And that's what we're going to talk about right now as more of a whole across the western United States. So let's go ahead and get into that. I wanted to start off here out at SEA, which is SeaTac Airport, or up here around Seattle, where we did have a ground stoppage earlier. Things looking okay as of right now, but you can definitely tell there's a bit of that haze still in the sky. It had some fog out there too, but let's take a look at satellite imagery, and you can tell that we have areas of clouds, but also we have some of that smoke that's in the air too. What's the difference? Well, wanted to point it out. Those bright white colors that you see right there, those are more clouds, while areas right here where you see the more the milky sort of white shading, that's where we have a bit more of that smoke haze and where we're dealing with a bit more of an air quality issue. Now, what I'm going to show you here is how everything will continue to evolve as we go over the next few days. A lot of it concentrated across Washington State, Idaho, western Montana, and you can see that extending down towards areas over Wyoming and eventually down here around Colorado. That's why we've been seeing some of the forecasts here throughout the show talking about maybe some poor air quality or at least more smoke haze in the skies, due in part here closer to the Denver metro, and even seeing some of that here right between Sacramento and San Diego, while areas farther south around Phoenix not really dealing with smoke haze but dealing with a bit more of that monsoonal moisture. So here it is. You can see the air quality that has been impacted by some of these wildfires, and definitely seeing more of a concentration along those eastern banks of the Cascades and the Sierras up here across Washington, Oregon, and down that way around central and southern California. All right, everyone. Well, that's going to do it for today's show. We talked about the wildfire smoke and how that's going to be around here for the next few days. We thank you so much for being with us, and we hope that you're able to join us again Monday for, again, the next Weather Out West.